Welcome to Faith and Calm. This is class number 299. Um, so welcome myself back and my wife back from Crown Heights, Lag BaOmer. You saw we had a very short class there um, um, from uh, from house there, and it was beautiful weather, and there were parades and all sorts of other exciting things, and life is challenging sometimes. So for me it was hard because it was I didn't sleep there, and there was some sort of Allen hand I don't know what I don't know what it was, and so forth. Still, you may hear that I'm still sort of congested and so forth, not sick, but definitely suffering from some sort of a massive virus attack and or something. Not interesting. Okay, not interesting about me. This is about you. And that's what this class is about too. So it's also about, well, I'm just trying to mention it because we all need faith and calm. And and I do this class for myself and for my listeners, so that, there are challenges, and we all suffer them. And and as our, and it's part of life, and it's fun. Otherwise, life would be very boring. And God gives us a lot of interesting challenges, and different ones, and much different, more difficult ones than this for a lot of people. So my heart goes out for everyone who needs a refuah. Everybody should have a blessing, and should have health, and should have wealth, and should have all the things that they need: companionship, love, attention, um, and yep, that's our wish for all of our listeners as we move along in the counting of the sphere of the Omer. We're going to count again tonight, and I'm not going to mention the number. So last night was 39. That's what I thought. And so we're moving, and we're improving, and we're growing. And we're coming towards Shavuos. Now, this class is not going to be about Shavuos, a little bit about Shavuos, a little bit, because here's what we're going to do. So, listen to an interesting series that's just starting up by Rabbi Manis Friedman, which is, what do the non-Jews think about the Jews, and what do the Jews think about the non-Jews? So it's a very edgy class. And because there's a lot of questions out there, there's a lot of growth of anti-Semitism, and if you've been listening at all, you hear things that are pretty outrageous about the Jewish people, and some people we have a lot of trouble sometimes answering these questions. And so he wanted to get to the heart of the matter and understand why we have this trouble answering it. I mean, Hamas doesn't seem to have any trouble. If you ask a Hamas guy, what do you believe? They'll say, we believe that Islam is the way. Anyone who's not should be killed. And they're very clear and direct and open on their attitude and so forth. And they're a pleasure to talk to as long as you wear bulletproof vests, because you know exactly where they stand. In the Jews, you ask them, you go into a Jew on the street and you ask them, what is it like to feel like to be a Jew? What is being Jewish about? And a lot of us are going to have people out there are going to have a lot of trouble trying to explain that. Rabbi Friedman gave an interesting story of this, an example, and the example was, he said that he was at a wedding, I guess it was, and there were a lot of people there. And one woman came over and very loudly said to Rabbi Friedman, he said, you have to talk to my son. He's marrying a shiksa. He's marrying a non-Jewish girl, a lady, and so forth. You have to talk to her about her. So everybody in the whole place got silent and was listening. And Rabbi Friedman went over to the boy, the man, whatever, young man, and asked him. He said, is it true you're thinking of marrying a non-Jew? And he says, yes. What's the problem? And he says, well, I don't know. I don't know that there's a problem. But let me ask you the following question. He says, if you, because he saw that this guy was perfectly sincere. He had no problems with it. He wasn't embarrassed at all. So he said, if you're going to marry somebody who's into a non-Jewish family, you're going to be the Jew, and everybody else will be non-Jew. They're going to have a lot of questions for you. When they ask questions about Judaism, what are you going to answer them? And the guy said, well, what's there to know? And so Rabbi Friedman says, well, there's 5 books of Moses, there's 24 books of Tanakh, there's 63 volumes of the Gemara. There's a lot to know about Judaism. And they're going to ask you questions about things that are said in there. And he goes, oh, So Rabbi Friedman says, "Here, I have some advice for you." I said, "Maybe before you go and do this marriage thing, you actually you actually go to yeshiva for a month and find out what it means to be a Jew." And he says, "That actually sounds like a good idea." Because there are people out there who are just clueless. They're running away from Judaism. They don't even know what it is. So we as the Jewish people have a problem, and that's part of the issue that why we get these questions and so forth. The other part is it's related to, well, what people come to us and say, you're the chosen people. Do you know what does that mean exactly? Does it mean you think you're better than us, you're superior than us? And therefore, then you hear all sorts of things like Jews think they're the master race, and they compare us to the Nazis and all sorts of other things and so forth. And it's like he says, wait, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. There's when you see something, when you as a non-Jew, you hear something, and you have to ask it very carefully. It says, I understand you're upset for what you're thinking about what that means and so forth. But let's think about it before you go ballistic about all the other stuff. Think about what is the outcome that has happened from that kind of statement. Have you ever seen the Jews act as the master race? I mean, you can ask Jackie Mason. He said, if a non-Jew walks through a Jewish community and he can even protest and come with Nazi signs and so forth, he has nothing to be afraid of. But if a Jew goes into a certain other neighborhoods, he has a lot to be afraid of. So the non-Jews really don't have anything to be afraid of us. As Jackie Mason said, what is he afraid of? He said some Jewish accountant is going to stab him with a pencil. I mean, it's like we never tried to become the master race and kill people. Even if you have some loudmouths who say some very negative things about non-Jews, it says, if you ever, is it ever really, if a non-Jew starts saying things like this, then you better watch out because sometimes they really do. They mean it, and it's just a step towards escalation. But for Jews, it's just like blowing off steam or something like that. So look at the effect. The effect has never been that we have ever tried to lord it over anybody. It's the opposite, and so forth. So, but what does it mean? Let's think about this. What does it mean that when we say that the Jew is the chosen people? How do we answer that question? So, chosen doesn't mean better, of course. What it means is we have this holiday coming up, Shavuos, and we were given a mission. And we were given a mission. We were told that God has a blueprint for the world, and that there is truth, and there is and reality and truth, and that is determined by God because He created the world. So what is good and what is bad is determined not by our own opinions, but never by God. And we're supposed to be the teachers of that. Is a teacher somehow higher than the rest of the students in the class? I mean, do you have a teacher comes in the class and say, I'm the teacher because I'm better than all of you, and that's why I'm the teacher? That wouldn't be a teacher. A teacher is there because I care about the students and I want them to get something from it. I happen to have some more knowledge than other people in the class, and I need to give that over. But I'm not better than you. I was just given some information, and I was supposed to give it over. Oh, an interesting sidebar. I thought this was a cute line. He says one time Rabbi Friedman was teaching a class, and one of the kids in the class said to him, he says, how do you know all of that stuff? How, why do you think you know all this thing? How do you know all of this? And he says, a teacher is supposed to know more than the students. It's not a negative thing. That's why they study and that's why they learn and so forth. It's not we're not lording it over anybody. We're just trying to do it. The problem is that for 3,000 years we've been trying to teach the world, and the class has not been very cooperative. We've had a very a very disorderly class and so forth. They try and kill us, murder us, Holocaust us, and so forth like that. But so it's not been easy to be the teacher, but we are good teachers, and we have to understand that is part of our role, is to hard teach the world what is good and what is bad. And he gave another interesting, cute little story, which goes as follows. So some guy came to him and once said, he said, I don't need you, and I don't need the Torah, and I don't need God to teach me what is good or bad. Yeah, Joe. He says, I know what's good or bad. I don't need your Torah and your rabbis to do it. So Rabbi Friedman said, that's interesting. He says, so give me an example of something that's just absolutely morally bad. And he says, murder. So Rabbi Friedman says, and you came up with this as an original idea? You didn't hear it from anybody else? You came up with the idea that murder was bad? Or maybe it's because the Jews have actually sort of promulgated this idea that it's not a good idea and has been picked up by a lot of other religions. And so everything that they say about morality and so forth is really coming from the Jewish people. So that is our mission. Our mission is to try and to explain to the world what is good, what is bad, to be the teachers of the world by teaching by mostly by example, by how we behave, how we act, but also when they come and they actually ask us questions, and so forth, to be open to be able to answer them. And that is our relationship with the rest of the world. We don't despise them. We don't hate them. We're not trying to get rid of them. We're not trying to convert them. We're not supposed to make them all Jews either. But we were given a mission at Har Sinai. We were given the Torah. We were given what is good and what is bad, and what is true and what is not. And we're supposed to be able to explain that in their terms so they understand it. And they will appreciate that. Because you know what? They got it. All the stuff they got is from us anyway. They just copied it out and plagiarized it. Anything that's true. So that's sort of in a nutshell, a little bit. Oh, and there was one other point that I thought was sort of interesting, and that is that why is there anti-Semitism? So anti-Semitism rarely is very much when a country or a nation or a people are doing very well, they're not looking for the Jews as scapegoats. They're not blaming the Jews. They're not protesting against the Jews. All the societies that you see that when they turn on the Jews, like Nazi Germany, was because the economy was falling, they were falling apart. They're either falling apart economically or socially or religiously or spiritually or morally or something like that is falling apart. And then they decide, you know what, we can't really blame ourselves for our own destruction, so we have to just blame somebody else. So we have to realize that, most of the stuff is really not our fault. They have a problem and they have been living in some sort of without any focus or idea or mission, and we have to tell them, you know what, the purpose of us being of us human beings in this world, we're here for something, and we're here for something means not for ourselves. We're here to serve Hashem, and that changes the whole picture entirely. We realize that it's not about getting something from God, it's about giving something to God, about making this world better. And if it's not good, then there's something that we're be giving the opportunity to actually improve things, and that's a great opportunity to be able to serve Hashem. Will we be able to change it all ourselves immediately? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But we have to look at everything as saying, this is an opportunity. And do I have the capability and the ability to influence or to be able to affect something here? So every time I do come into some difficult situation and where I'm supposed to be teaching, I have to stop and I have to think, is this an opportunity for me to think and to teach and to give a moral clarity to the world, because it so much needs that kind of clarity. It is so confused. It is so lost sometimes. It makes such bad equations of things. I just read today that that the EU is going to put sanctions on both Hamas and Jews because they're both extremists. Now, when you throw the two together, you have really lost your moral compass altogether. So, the world needs help. And that's why anti-Semitism is out there, because it's just it's a crumbling intellectual and moral fabric out there. That's an opportunity for the Jew to give them something that actually has some value and some worth. So with that, with just a bit of ideas, about what we're coming about Har Sinai, which is one of the names that's given Sinai is because it caused hatred in the world, because the Jews, are now the representatives of God, and he gets all the blame. But we are here to take the blame and to also be able to teachers and also to deal with its difficult classroom and to be able to teach to a difficult classroom. And hopefully through what we've been given, we'll be able to transform things. I think I have to stop. I'm beginning to cough a little bit, and I will give the microphone over to Shalom Meshukudis. So your
Thank you. Feel
website
better,
is here.
Yashil Feel
A
better.
website.
Whatever here.
Which one?
This.
The middle one?
Yeah.
So how do I pull it up?
How would you share the screen?
Yeah.
You want to just do it right now?
No, no, not yet.
Well,
I'm
you
gonna.
do,
Oh,
you
I'm
go
gonna
here
share
and you just
share
share,
with
and then you
my
share,
friends.
and then you share the screen.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Feel better, Yoshko Simon. Hi, Shlomo Shehudis. I hope your husband feels better from his allergies.
I'm getting a little better. He's getting better too.
Okay, good.
So anyway, um, okay. So glad to be here.
I have a
And
question. I,
yes,
I have a question. I really wanted to ask your husband, but it's not so deep and profound. I'm just laying down. I'm in so much pain.
oh
But, to ask this guy that wants him to marry, if you say to him, well, do you care if your kids aren't Jewish?
yeah,
That was, that's what I said to my brother when he told me he was marrying this non-Jewish person. And I said, well, you know that your kids aren't going to be Jewish, right?
yes,
Didn't
yes.
stop him.
I know. I think they realize that, you know. I think that I think they realize that
I don't
because
blame him. I
they
mean,
just
look,
don't. Yeah.
he's married with kids and I'm not married. So where did it get me becoming
Are you
firm?
talking about your brother?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's
Okay.
married, he has
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
he whatever,
Sorry, it's
and
not okay. We'll
I'm
talk
not
about it
married.
sometime, some other time, but it, it's
We
not
should
an
have
easy
we have the
situation.
class in the merit of me finding my husband so
Oh man,
I
you
can
and
yell at him
Hadassah
and
and
ask him where
everybody
he's
else who
been all
needs
these
it.
years.
Yes. I mean, okay, so anyway, we're going to continue right now. And first I'm going to start with the four things that I
I'm
always say.
sorry, I
Number,
didn't mean to say
that's
that.
okay. That's okay. Number one, that we're in an incredible time. We are in the unfolding of the redemption. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said that in 1991, 1992, and he was never wrong about any public pronouncement that he made. They have all come true, and therefore this one is also coming true. And secondly, you and I were meant to be here at this time. We were God put us in this world at this time because we're vital to what's happening. We have a vital role to play. We're not bystanders. And three, we were given all the tools we need to navigate this time. We were given the Torah, which is our guidebook, and a ton of incredible teachings by rabbis, rabbitans, incredible stuff we have. And we were given the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. They transform the world, and they transform the person who does them. That's one of the most profound effects they have. They are the most incredible tool for self-actualization I've ever seen. And finally, what we're doing tonight, learning about the redemption, actively speeds it up. The Rebbe said there's nothing that speeds up the redemption more than learning about it. So, so anyway, I want to tell a story tonight, and I'm also going to be short. I'm going to tell. So the title of the class was um, "Making Miracles Your whatever, something like your default setting." I don't think that's the words I used, but something like that. So, and as we're just coming from Lag BaOmer, and and um, and that's what, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in a soul that was never such a soul on this earth before he was an extraordinary soul, and he was sent down to the world for a purpose to start the to open the pipeline to the when the Torah was given at Har Sinai, in 2448, the entire Torah was given, the Torah that we know, and also the secret Torah. But the secret Torah was the secret parts of the Torah, the mystical part of the Torah. But the mystical part of the Torah was not allowed to be taught. And until the time of there were a few people, a few selected people in each generation who knew the mystical part of the Torah. And then and even Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's time, he he taught the secrets of the Torah. There were amazing things, and he and his followers knew them. And and uh, and um, and so anyway, but now, through Hasidus, through all that stuff, the secrets are they're becoming more and more known, and that facilitates the redemption because whatever, it facilitates redemption, our understanding who Hashem is, what is our role, all that stuff, not just the facts, but the secrets behind creation it's an amazing thing. It's sort of like somebody once Sari and I once had a teacher, um, Rabbi Tauber, Rabbi Israel Tauber, and he compared Hasidus to a microwave. And he said, for years, for generations, for all of human history, people cooked by putting things on fire, on top of a fire, on top of a hot rock, and it was cooking from the outside in. But what does the microwave do? The microwave cooks from the inside out. And so too Hasidus. Hasidus penetrates right to the inside, and it gets rid of the external blockages to Torah that people have. So, and it's immediately accessible. People are drawn to Hasidus. So anyway, if you live on a level, so what the level of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived, he had miracles all the time around him, all the time. And it's because he lived on the level that he lived on was the reality of Hashem. He just lived on that reality that there's nothing that Hashem can't do, and he aligned himself to Hashem, and so Hashem helped him in crazy ways. When he ran away, a carob tree grew by his cave where he was hiding, so he and his son could have food, and a river appeared by the cave so they could have something to drink. And his whole life he lived on a miraculous level. So I'm going to tell a story not from his lifetime, but from something around 1946, before the state of Israel was the modern state of Israel was born in 1948, and this story took place approximately 1946. 1946, the survivors of the Holocaust, the Jewish survivors of the Holocaust, many of them wanted to go to Israel. Israel was not in a settled state at that time. Israel was Israel. Everybody, people were after the Holocaust. They were longing to have a homeland, longing to have a place where people wouldn't persecute them, and longing to have a place where people wouldn't persecute them, and um, and so they came, but if they came in 46 after the war, they came to a very rough situation because Israel, the Palestinian mandate, the British mandate was very, very tough on the Jews, and very, very, very hard. And also the Arabs were attacking the Jews. They didn't want them to have a state, and they didn't have a state yet, but it was in process. It was something that was being fought for, and so it was very rough life in Israel at that time. And when Holocaust survivors came over on boats from Europe, very often these people who had escaped not escaped, who had been rescued at the end of the war from the concentration camps. So they were, some of them, I think one Holocaust survivor I met said he went down to 49 pounds, a man. And they were half corpses when they came. But when they came, if they looked even like a tiny bit alive, they were met by the Israeli, the forces, like I think it's called the Irgun, and oh, I can't remember the uh, uh, Lehi, Lehi. So anyway, I'm going to tell you something about the Lehi party. There was a guy who joined the Lehi party. There were a lot of young Israelis. Really, they wanted to help make the state of Israel, and they joined this rebel organization to get rid of the British mandate and to fight for their own state and to fight against the Arabs. And so one of the guys who joined was his name was Tzvi Greenwald. I can share the screen and show he's a real person. The story is about him, and I'm going to share my screen. I guess this is screen share. Um, uh, hmm, okay. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen and here. Oh. So can you see? Yeah, you can see this guy, right? He's a from guy. You can tell from his payas, but he's fighting in he died at 86. Here he's in his 20s. And he became a great and famous Chabad rabbi, a great and famous Chabad rabbi. Now, his name is Tzvi Greenwald. He had many children who became famous Chabadniks themselves. So this story is about him, a real person. Now, so anyway, he joined the Lehi party to fight for Israel's independence, and while he was there was another guy. His name was Yaakov. Forgive me, I can't remember Yaakov's last name. And Yaakov came. He came on a boat straight from the concentration camps. He had lost his father, his mother, his wife, his two children, and he was an absolutely and he was broken after being in the camps. He was an absolutely broken individual, and yeah, it's okay. He was a broken individual, and as soon as the boat pulled into the shore, the Lehi emissaries from the Lehi party said, "Come with us. We need you to fight for the state of Israel." He said, "Me? I just got out of heck. Yeah, I'm. He was like a physical wreck." They said, "It's okay. We need you. Israel needs you." He said, "Okay, Israel needs me. I'll go." And so this Tzvi Greenwald met Yaakov, and he saw what bad shape he was in, and he saw that he had nobody in the world, and he befriended him very, very much. He strongly befriended him, and they fought and they fought and they fought here and they fought there and they fought here and they fought there. Oh, what do they do? They teach you how to, in less than 2 weeks they teach you how to fight, how to shoot a gun and all that kind of stuff, and then you're in the army already. And so they went in together in many, many battles. And one time, an Arab shot I think it was an Arab shot not the British, uh, he he uh, he shot Yaakov in the spine, and in his backbone, in his spine, and Yaakov was instantly paralyzed. No feeling at all in his arms, no feeling at all in his legs. He was taken off to the hospital. Now he has no father, no mother, no wife, no, his two kids were murdered, and now he cannot move. He's a paraplegic in a hospital. And they can't do much for him in the hospital. They can do almost nothing for him. They can make him comfortable. And Svi felt absolutely horrible. And he made up with a buddy of his in the Lehi party. One of us has to go visit him every 2 days. And they did, and they tried to cheer him up, but he just couldn't believe what was happening to him. Svi couldn't believe what was happening to himself, and so anyway, life went on like this. The nurses couldn't do anything for him except try and cheer him up and make him comfortable. And but Svi was visiting one day, and it was the 17th of Iyar, and 17th of Iyar is one day before Lag BaOmer, and he comes to visit Yaakov in the hospital, and Yaakov said to him, I grew up in Europe very frum, and in my home in Europe, Lag BaOmer was a huge day. It's a huge day among Hasidic people. It was huge. And I always dreamed maybe someday I can make it to Israel and I can go to where Rabbi Shimon Bar in to Meron, where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is buried. He said, tonight and tomorrow is Lag BaOmer. I have one request. Please bring me there. Bring me to Meron. I have nothing. Just please fulfill that childhood dream of mine. Please bring me to Meron. And Tzvi thought about it, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "Me and my buddy, we're going to be sent to the north tomorrow on Lag BaOmer. No, 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 no. It was probably the 16th. He said we're going to be sent to New York. We're sent to the north on the 17th, the day before Lag BaOmer. He said we're going to come pick you up and we're going to bring you there. Don't worry about it. So they showed up the next day, which was Erev Lag BaOmer, the day before Lag BaOmer. They came with an army truck and a mattress, and they took the mattress up to his hospital room, and they had asked the nurses before, can we bring him on a little outing? They didn't tell him that they're going all the way to the north of Israel. They just said a little outing to cheer him up, and the nurses were so gung-ho on this. Yes, please do anything to cheer him up. And so they brought him and they put him in the back of the truck, and they put him in the back of the truck, and they brought him all the way to Meron. They arrived before, like right at sunset time, at when Lag BaOmer was about to begin. They took his mattress, they took him on his mattress, and they put it as close to the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai as they could. And they put a bag of food next to his head. He couldn't feed himself. He had no use of his arms, no use of his legs. So they were hoping that maybe some, other people who would be there, he would say, I'm hungry. Can you give me some food? And maybe they would help him out. Anyway, they left him like that. They said, we're picking you up tomorrow afternoon. And they left him there. They came back the next day. They came back in the late afternoon, and they came to where they left him, and there was a mattress, and there was no Yaakov. And they started freaking out. Oh my God, what happened? What happened to him? What happened to him? There's no Yaakov. And they start running around looking for Yaakov. And then they see him, and he's standing up. and Svi runs to Yaakov, and they hug each other, and they had to hold each other up because they were both so moved that they would have fallen over. And 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 Yaakov starts to say his story. Yaakov said, "Last night you left me here, and I was happy to be here, but I'm so unhappy about the situation I'm in. I lost so much in life so far." And I started to talk to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and I said, Rabbi Shimon, you know, special things happen to people who come to see you on your day that you passed away, on the anniversary of the day you passed away. I'm in such terrible situation. I want to be my old self again. Please help me. I want to be my old self again. And he davened and he said Tehillim. He did whatever he could do. And all night he was talking to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And then sometime in the middle of the night, he he felt a strange thing. He felt a tingle in his hand that he couldn't, that was paralyzed, that he didn't have any sensation from. He felt a tingling in both of his hands, and he felt tingling in his feet. I was thinking, what's going on here? I'm feeling tingling in that. And then after a while, he realized he could move his arm. He could move his arm, and he could move his other arm, and he could move a leg. And then he said, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and sit up. And he sat up, and they said, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and stand up. And he stood up, and he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. It was an amazing, amazing miracle. And they were ecstatic. This was, there are many miracles that happen around on Lag BaOmer at the kever of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Many, many, many miracles. And this guy he could walk again. His paralysis was over. He ended up after the war remarrying and having children. He had another life. And this is an absolutely true story. You can look up Rabbi Tzvi Greenwald. It's a very famous story of his. He became an extremely big educator. So what was different about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai lived with the fact that Hashem can do anything. Hashem can do anything, and he lived on that level. And he lived on the level of possibility, not on the level of peril, on the level of tragedy. And so by by with us, well, it's a silly, silly, silly thing. It's a silly thing. It's not a miracle story like the one I just told. But we have to realize that The spiritual reality is the reality of the world. When Yeskel Shimon and I were coming home, we could only stay till 2 o'clock on Lag BaOmer because it takes us a long time we drive during the daytime, not at night. And during the daytime, you always hit, it's a long trip and you always hit uh, rush hour at some point on the trip. And it easily takes us 5 hours to get home. Easily, easily. Sometimes seven, sometimes once on a holiday weekend on July 4th weekend, it took us 9 hours. We don't want to do that again. But anyway, so my husband picked me up from a women's event that we went down specially for that event, and I had to leave almost in the beginning. I had to leave at 2 o'clock. And anyway, so we get in the car, and Yaskol Shimon has decided to play a Torah class, and the Torah class was about Lag BaOmer, but it was an incredibly serious class. It was like a very, not really upbeat. It was like a very serious class. And the traffic out of New York was crawling. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is only the beginning of the trip. It's not even rush hour. It's only 2 o'clock. If it's like this, we're going to get home at midnight or afterwards. This is terrible. And crawling, crawling, crawling. We were crawling for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours we were crawling. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't think this is right. I think that Rabbi Shimon what does he say? He wants people to celebrate his yard site because if he wasn't on this earth, we would never have had the secrets of the Torah. And we are only getting out of this. We're only getting Geula, redemption through the secrets of the Torah. So it was a something that opened up the possibility for Geula, for redemption. And he specifically said, you have to rejoice on my yontif, on the day I left this world. So, because I did my mission, I completed my mission. So I was thinking, oh, this is wrong. So I said, yes, Shimon, let's play a game. And it's a game we sometimes play when we come home from New York. And it has a history to it, but each one of us has to say our 65 favorite things that happened to us in New York. We were there for like 2 days. But so I started, and then, when I got to 20, he took over, and then I took over. And as soon as we started playing the game, which is fun, it's an upbeat, it's what you liked about the trip, the traffic started flowing. I was thinking, yeah, I knew this. It started flowing, flowing, flowing. We probably went to a rest stop because for some reason, Eskil Sherman turned on his Torah class again that he wanted to listen to. It was a good Torah class, but it was very serious, very serious. And the traffic was crawling again, absolutely crawling. And I pointed it out. I didn't tell Yaskol Shimon before, but I pointed out what I thought was going on. And I said, please, we can play music today. Please, can we play music? Let's play Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai music, all the songs that have been written about him. So I found a track on YouTube, and we turned it on. As soon as we turned it on, whoosh, the traffic starts flowing again. So I was singing and dancing in my seat the entire next 3 hours, and it flowed the entire next 3 hours. When you live with a higher reality, the higher reality shows itself to you. So anyway, I want to wish everybody a miraculous week and that we should live on that level of a higher reality. And I want to thank you all for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
and everybody
Did
should
you
be
who's did
well.
you when you went to New York, did you go to the Rebbe's? You know, the
I
Rebbe's
go to
thing?
770. I go
Okay.
to 770. Yeah.
So you
I
did
feel
you go to
770 is where the Rebbe is.
Oh,
And
okay. So you don't go to
yeah,
the grave because I went to his grave.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was in
It's a very special place as well. But
I
I,
see.
I prefer
Yeah,
going to 770.
right.
So
And it's the other rabbi, he's still buried in Israel? The one that from Lag BaOmer, is he still there? His
yeah, of course.
so
And
can people go?
this year they outlawed it because they figured the Arabs would bomb Mea Shearim because we're at
Oh,
war.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
typically in the past, 600,000 Jews go to Meron, to the burial place of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, every Lag BaOmer. 600,000. It's the largest collection of Jews that happens in our times. It's an enormous, and they're not from, there's some who are from, some who are not from, Sephardi, Ashkenaz. Every single type of Jew shows up because he has a connection to every type of Jew. So
Wasn't there once an accident a few years ago, but like didn't they
yes,
have,
there
and
was.
they
Yes,
now they
there
fixed it,
was.
right? Now they kept it, now it's
Yes,
safe.
I'm sure they did
Okay.
fix it.
All right.
Yes, yeah,
That
yeah,
was a
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool story. Thank you. All
You're welcome. Okay, be
right.
well, everybody. I'm going to say good
Bye.
night. Okay, good night. Thank you so much for joining.